अमरीकी वज़ीर ख़ारिजा मार्को रूबियो ने ईरान के साथ बराह रास्त मुज़ाकरात का इशारा दे दिया है। मार्को रूबियो ने यह भी कहा कि हमें ईरान जंग के बाद नेटो के साथ ताल्लुक़ात का असर-ए-नौ जायज़ा लेना होगा। अमरीकी फ़ौज जल्द अपने तमाम मक़ासद हासिल कर लेगी। यह ऑपरेशन गैर मामूली महारत के साथ अंजाम दिया जा रहा है। यह मिशन जदीद तारीख़ के बेहतरीन और कामयाब टैक्टिकल फ़ौजी ऑप्शन में से शुमार होगा।
Is all about. I always say Iran. Let me be clear. I'm not talking about the people of Iran. The people of Iran don't even like this government or this regime. This is a regime that is led by radical Shia clerics, by people who believe that it is their calling. I know this sounds fantastical, but it's absolutely true. This is a regime led by people who believe that it is their calling and their purpose in life to usher in the end of the world. These people want nuclear weapons. Why do we know that? Because they are assembling all the things you need for nuclear weapons. They're assembling long-range rockets that can eventually reach the United States, can already range Europe. We saw them demonstrate 2 of them last week, despite denying that they had them. They enriched uranium to 60%. As you pointed out a moment ago, from 60 to 90%, which is what you need for a bomb, takes 12 to 14 days. They bragged about still having that. They demand the right to enrich, which is how you get from 60 to 90%. They're the leading sponsor of terrorism, not in the region, in the world. They can never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, which is what President Trump made very clear from the very first day of his presidency, in fact, from the very first day of his candidacy. When he came down that escalator in 2015, he talked about this. He's actually been talking about the threat of Iran before he was even a political candidate. And as president, he was not going to allow Iran to pose a threat to Americans now or future generations of Americans. So we had to act. And with very clear purpose. We are going to destroy their Air Force. We have largely done that. We were going to destroy their Navy, which we have largely achieved that. We were going to destroy a significant percentage of their missile launchers. We are well on our way to achieving that. And we were going to wipe out their defense industrial base, meaning the factories that make the drones and the missiles. We are on our way to doing that. Those were our 4 objectives, because those are the 4 things they were going to hide behind to then develop a nuclear weapon and threaten the world if they tried to do anything about it. That was not going to happen under President Trump. We are well on our way. We are on or ahead of schedule on each of those 4 objectives, and we can see the finish line. It's not today, it's not tomorrow, but it is coming. We are going to get to the point where our military will have achieved all of its objectives in this mission, and they're doing so with extraordinary efficiency, something that I think will go down in history as one of the best-run tactical military operations in modern times. Sean, I've been one of the strongest defenders of NATO during my time as a United States Senator, because I found great value in it. And it wasn't just about defending Europe. I said it also allowed us to have military bases in Europe that allowed us to project power into different parts of the world when our national security was threatened. If now we have reached a point where the NATO alliance means that we can't use those bases, that in fact that we can no longer use those bases to defend America's interests, then NATO is a one-way street. Then NATO is simply about us having troops in Europe to defend Europe, but when we need their help, not their help, we're not asking them to conduct airstrikes. When we need them to allow us to use their military bases, their answer is no. Then why are we in NATO? You have to ask that question. Why do we have billions and billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, over the years, trillions of dollars, and all of these American forces stationed in the region, if we can only use, in our time of need, we're not going to be allowed to use those bases. So I think there's no doubt, unfortunately, after this conflict is concluded, we are going to have to re-examine that relationship. We're going to have to re-examine the value of NATO and that alliance for our country. Ultimately, that's a decision for the president to make, and he'll have to make it. We're going to finish the job here. As I said, we're very, very close to achieving our objectives on all of these things that I've outlined. But I do think, unfortunately, we are going to have to re-examine whether or not this alliance that has served this country well for a while is still serving that purpose, or has it now become a one-way street where America is simply in a position to defend Europe, but when we need the help of our allies, they're going to deny us basing rights and they're going to deny us overflight? I think these are very legitimate questions that we need to be asking, and this are going to have to be very carefully examined after this conflict is over.